Welcome to the Retail Tech Podcast, where we talk about the full spectrum of technologies and implementation used in omnichannel and online retail. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at retailtechpodcast.com, and we always look forward to your feedback. Today, I'm speaking with Manish Sood, CEO of Reltio, a big data company. Hi, Manish, how are you?
Doing well, Darius. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Can you tell us what Reltio is and what does it do actually?
Sure. At Reltio, we are focused on providing data-driven applications to our customers. The key concept is focused on the fact that most of the enterprise customers that we work with, they have data from multiple silos of information, as well as data from third-party data providers that they want to buy and combine together in order to drive customer engagement, client experience across different lines of business, as well as different channels that they are interacting with those customers through. When we apply that to retail, it's for enabling that omni-channel engagement with their consumers that the customers are using our platform for, so that they can aggregate all the information about their consumers and then drive the experience from that point on with the data that they have inside Reltio.
Okay. Now, I saw the information about what's called the Reltio Cloud. What exactly is that? Is that your main product?
That is our main product. Reltio Cloud is our software as a service offering that we provide to our customers. We take care of all the infrastructure and the different technologies that are used behind the scenes, which are all based on big data infrastructure capabilities, such as NoSQL database behind the scenes or search indexing type of capability, any kind of Apache Spark type of on-demand type of analytics, in order to create and deliver our capabilities around data aggregation and making that data available 24/7 for use across operational and analytical type of scenarios in a always on, available, accessible, and usable manner to our customers.
Okay, so you host customers' data in your cloud. Is that anonymized data, or how do you handle the security and privacy aspects?
So it is not anonymized data in the sense that it's not de-identified. This is information in a lot of cases about specific PII type of information. And that personally identifiable information is being secured by us through a variety of different techniques. We encrypt it at rest as well as in transit. And we have been working through a lot of the security audit type of requirements where we run systems that are high trust and HIPAA compliant, so that we are able to provide a certain level of assurance to our customers in terms of how their information is being secured as they're bringing it into the Reltio cloud.
So that's a just from experience, that's a pretty valuable service in and of itself, because security is such a major challenge these days and expensive for people to manage and monitor and maintain. So, for example, when I use a company called Stripe for payment processing for our software, for my own company,
Right.
we pass all the information directly to them. We don't even store any of that information in our servers. Is that how your system works as well? Customers actually pass the information through you, or do they also are maintaining the data?
So we become the storage for maintaining this customer information. We become the vault for it, and that's why it is extremely important for us to provide the right kind of security capabilities around the Reltio cloud. Not only do we leverage what is provided by some of the infrastructure vendors or providers, such as Amazon Web Services, but on top of that, we have taken a lot of the capabilities and processes that we have applied, and that's where the security compliance type of requirements become extremely important for us, because we are housing some of the most critical and valuable information for our customers.
Right. Okay, great. Now, coming to retail, you have retail clients. And can you talk about any of them?
Yes, absolutely. So we have retail customers across a variety of sections. For example, we work with brick and mortar retail stores that are now trying to go through a digital transformation, where they're trying to enable engagement with their customers across both the e-commerce and the point of sale type of systems that they have, as well as fast food retail type of customers who are going through a similar kind of digital transformation, as well as customers on the other end of the spectrum that are selling, for example, cars to their customers. And in all of these areas, when we think about retail as a particular segment, our customers are leveraging our capabilities to bring together what they call the consumer journey, where every engagement, every interaction with the customer is brought together across multiple channels into the Reltio platform. And combined with some of the other data that they might have from their fulfillment systems, from their CRM type of systems, as well as any kind of third party data assets that they buy, to further augment and enrich the profile of a customer. And the goal with all of this is that the customers in retail can drive better engagement and client experience with the consumer that they're working with, because all of these businesses require or are moving towards a paradigm where they want customers for a longer time frame.
Lifetime value, that's it.
Lifetime value.
That's what
Exactly.
we want to extend that as much as possible.
And as you and I well know, that consumers have a lot of choices. So it is up to the retailers to build that experience and engagement, so that the consumers can keep coming back for more stuff.
Right, absolutely. So let's say looking at a typical implementation project, what does that actually involve once the customer says, I like Reltio and I want to use it? What is the typical implementation project look like?
So for us, an implementation cycle or a project is tied to how much volume of information do the customers want to bring in, and how many different endpoints do they want to enable, so that more and more business processes or more applications like the point of sale or the e-commerce systems or the loyalty management type of systems that they have leverage the same set of data across all of these user experiences that they have. And we have customers that range from tens of millions of consumers that they're trying to manage with the Reltio cloud, going all the way up to north of 1 billion consumers that they're trying to manage, depending on the scale and the size of the business. And our implementations range from a few weeks to get the system up and running. And depending on the size and scale, at the large end of the spectrum, where we have 1 billion plus type of consumers being managed, it takes anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks type of a time frame to get the system up and running. So the main variant here is the size and scale of information that you're trying to bring together.
Do you have your own implementation teams or do you work with SIs?
We work with a lot of different system integrators. So, for example, Accenture, Deloitte, Cognizant, Wipro. These are all some of our key partners in this journey. And in order to get our software up and running, the typical process that we go through is our services team provides the expertise in terms of guiding some of the system integrators as to how to best deploy or follow the best practices for deploying the software in the context of the customer. And then from once you have the Reltio cloud up and running with all of the information that you're bringing in from a variety of these different siloed data sources and combining it together, the next step for all of the system integrators is to work with the customer to chart out a roadmap so that they can get this information integrated into a variety of endpoints, such as the point of sale type of system, or the e-commerce, or the loyalty management type of interactions that are taking place. And that's where a good understanding of their existing systems comes from the SIs who have been working with the customers over a longer period of time.
Right. So, for example, if you're pulling in data from the e-commerce, the online system, um, you want to push that information somehow in a meaningful manner to sales associates in the store that
Right.
might be interfacing with the same customer and vice versa.
Right. And that's why the real-time nature or the real-time exchange of this information is a bidirectional process that we enable for all of the data that is coming in and flowing out of Reltio back into these kinds of interaction or touch point type of systems.
Okay, so just having been through a few of these projects myself in different variations, I know that the architecture becomes key of building the data dictionary, or what, however that's called in different companies, but really, setting up the basis so that the right data is actually going in the right table and the right fields, and then it's interacted. So
Right.
is that where your team gets most involved to design that and help make sure that is working right?
Well, so we have simplified that concept quite a bit with the Reltio capabilities. First of all, our customers never have to think about a physical data model, primarily because that's where some of the key innovation for the Reltio cloud is. The way we start our implementations is we sit down with the business owners or the business managers who are trying to drive this kind of transformation and understand what is the type of attribution detail that they want to capture about the consumer, the households, the associates, the various types of relationships between them. And that attribution detail, which is just a logical description of different types of attributes that they want to build and aggregate across different data silos, becomes the definition that gets deployed in Reltio at a metadata level. And that definition enables all the APIs, all the interfaces for the incoming data. And that's a very short exercise. That typically is, working session, a few hours with the customer, and we are able to define that kind of a canonical schema based on the logical definition and deploy it. And Reltio product under the covers takes care of optimizing or creating an optimized data model for that kind of an interaction. And that's where a lot of the simplification is brought to the table by the Reltio product. And as soon as we have that logical definition, which, by the way, for retail, we provide 80% of that out of the box, that allows our customers to get up and running in a very short duration. So the focus is how quickly can we enable the speeds and feeds for the variety of data that they want to bring in, and establish any kind of ETL or EAI type of calls to our API, the Reltio API, and that gets the system up and running. And then the next part of it becomes consumption oriented integration, where every business process that you have, so it could be a new customer onboarding, new product type of onboarding process, or any kind of point of sale type of display of the profile of the customer or relevant offers being presented to them at the point of sale. those types of API calls are then defined from a consumption standpoint and made available for those different applications. And that's really the implementation lifecycle
Okay.
in case of a Reltio product.
Okay, so who is the main user of Reltio once it's implemented? Is it the business and merchandising teams, for example, or?
It is so it is a combination. The other thing to remember in this context is that customers are using Reltio Cloud to organize the information in a business consumable manner. And the goal is to leverage the same information across multiple functions. So, for example, in our case, uh, the uh, the associate in the store who's helping a customer, he's going to view the information right at the point of sale type of system because we are able to embed that information into the system. We have marketing users coming in and leveraging that same information because we have the deepest, richest view of the consumer and their journey to further segment and identify relevant targets that they want out of this information. And for that, we provide a user interface that sits on top of this data, which is very simple from a user experience standpoint, very similar to the type of interactions that you do on LinkedIn to find the contacts or companies in a similar manner. They have the similar kind of simplistic capability that allows them to search across the entire data or filter the information based on key attributes that they're looking for. And then we have other users from a compliance perspective or from a fraud detection and other types of analytics use cases because we have the aggregation or the sum total of all the information coming in from different channels, which includes a view of consumers with all of their attribution detail, any consumer to consumer or household or consumer to associate type of relationships, and all of the interactions, which include browsing history as well as some of the past purchase type of history, all combined together in one single place. We are able to make this information available in a Spark, Apache Spark data frame or a set of data frames where on-demand type of compute analytics can be applied. And any kind of indicators that you calculate, which could be propensity to buy, types of recommendations or preferences, or any kind of risk scores that you want to calculate for those customers based on machine learning algorithms or traditional analytics that you want to apply can be calculated and fed back as additional attribution detail into the consumer profile. So that then it becomes easier for the marketing users to go in and segment by high level of engagement but low level of spend. Those are the ones that we want to target in the next campaign.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, that's it's very interesting and it's a big job. It gets pretty sick. I mean, it's a critical role once the system is actually embedded into the customer's ecosystem. It becomes very very important. So now I've talked to a couple of companies that are applying same type of making sense of data, well, focused only on the marketing aspect. And
Right.
they also are starting to use things such as like artificial intelligence. Um, I know it's a buzzword for some people. What exactly does that mean when somebody says my app is AI enabled? There's no really like clear meaning across the board to tell you what exactly it means. What are your thoughts on? But I mean, there's definitely something there. Something is improving. Something is
Absolutely.
enhancing. So, what are your thoughts on how like things like AI are actually starting to go into your business?
So the way we are looking at the AI opportunity is our first step was to make sure that we could become the data aggregation platform for our customers, where they could bring together all of this information. The second step that we took was we organized the information in a manner where it was extremely relevant for learning type of algorithms. So, for example, instead of storing the information in tables, columns, foreign keys, which is some of the relational uh, data model type of constructs, our view of the world is different. Our view of the world is more about entities such as people, organizations, locations, products with infinite attribution. Any kind of attribution, it could be 100 attributes, it could be 1,000 attributes, or 2,000 attributes that you're associating with them. Any relationships, many to many relationships between these entities that could be captured from one interaction or a CRM system or a third party data set, so that we can build out a network graph of these relationships around those entities. And then the third part, which is in traditional data warehouse context, is called the fact data. Any kind of interaction. It could be browsing history, it could be purchase type of history, it could be returns type of history, any surveys, any loyalty points that you have, those kinds of details around the customer so that you can create a 360-degree view. Now, when you have this collection of information, there are a variety of AI type of algorithms that can be applied to it. And we have been working with our customers where we are providing them with the platform where either their own team can define some of these AI algorithms, because some of the teams that we've been working with in the retail space have sophisticated analytics teams already being defined and formed, where they want to leverage AI algorithms that they're building that they consider as unique IP to their business, and they want an execution platform for it. That's where we come in. Or bringing other partners who have developed specific machine learning or AI algorithms that can now be executed on the collection of data that we have. And
Okay.
that's the way we are approaching it.
Is there a specific architecture in which it would make it easier to apply AI on top of?
Absolutely. So when you think about some of the most recent technological changes that have been taking place, you've seen the evolution of Hadoop-based infrastructure capabilities, which have now transformed into Apache Spark, which has become a better execution engine, and machine learning libraries that are being attached to Apache Spark, becoming a great ecosystem from an infrastructure standpoint that's allowing customers to build new kinds of analytics on top of it. And this is where some of the capabilities that we see coming out of the Apache Spark type of an ecosystem, such as graphics algorithms, where you can compute, the relevance or the score for influence. Those kinds of capabilities are extremely relevant because those were things that were not possible with the traditional data warehousing type of systems.
Right.
And that's where we see some of these on-demand compute type of analytics where extremely compute intensive type of jobs are now being separated from storage so that you can have ultra low storage where systems like Reltio can continue to aggregate, combine, organize information. But then, as and when you have a need for developing a new algorithm, you can instantiate some of that data in memory and execute an iterative algorithm on top of it.
Okay. We're getting some disruption in the connectivity, I think. So some of your words were cut off, but I think it was good for the most part. Not sure which side it is. That's the world we live in. Skype is how we do business, and that's how we live and how we die. So
Well, systems have to be built for fault tolerance.
exactly. So the now I could probably talk all day about this stuff. It's so fascinating how things are changing and how exciting it is to see, like, from what's happening now into what, especially in retail, how things are going to be in 5 years. It's just very interesting for me. But I know, you have to go. Now, what's next for Reltio? Should we be looking for any other new products or anything new coming out the remainder of this year?
So some of the things that we are trying to do, we are trying to define how customers think about data-driven applications, where it's not just the data that they own and want to bring together, but Reltio is going out and partnering with a variety of data providers so that when we go to a customer, we can provide a starting point where a customer doesn't have to think about which data sources should I go and consider. So when you think about consumer information, going out and partnering with a variety of third-party data providers that can provide additional segmentation information around consumers or products when you're looking at competitive pricing and other types of details in the market, bringing that kind of information in a pre-aggregated manner to the customer so that they can essentially pick and choose and apply different kinds of third-party data assets uh, in addition to the information that they already have, is the kind of accelerator that we are working on. And we've already started moving some of our customers in that direction. And we see more and more of those types of opportunities, not just in retail, but across other verticals as well.
Fantastic. That sounds very interesting. Look forward to learning more and more on what Reltio is doing. Thank you so much for your time, Manish, and have an excellent day.
Thank you very much, Darius. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.